guys, I'm Tasha from Travelandtash. Yesterday I had a friend who asked me, he said to me, hey, you're flying to Cebu soon, why don't you pick up such and such items? And I said to him, actually I don't plan on spending any money on stuff I don't need for the next bunch of months actually. And he replied to me, oh wow, he was like, how do you manage to do that? How do I save money? Can you explain to me how I can do that? And so essentially this video, you know who you are. This video is especially dedicated to you because this is a topic that many people struggle with. I'd like to begin with my own story actually, and that really begins with the idea of scarcity. When I was a child growing up, my parents were young. They were very young when they had me. They were about 20 years old when I was born. And growing up, there really wasn't much disposable income for clothing. And so as a result, me and my siblings received a lot of hand-me-downs from friends and people essentially that had, children that had outgrown their clothing. And as a teenager, I remember that, particularly as a teenager when fashion became more important, I remember, just feeling like, oh goodness, I just can't wait till I start working and I have the chance to, buy my own clothes and be able to afford to look normal like everybody else. And so in my mindset, I felt that I had to kind of rectify a situation that was really painful for me as a child and as a teenager growing up. And so when I began working as an adult, as a late teenager, one of the major expenses that I spent money on was fashion. It was on clothing. And I know that directly relates to the fact that when I was a child and a teenager, these were all the things that I didn't have. And so I was kind of overcompensating for the fact that I felt that I just, I didn't have these things that, me as a young woman, wanted to have. And I guess in the last 3 years or so, I've moved to Asia twice, and I've had to downsize my wardrobe considerably, removing at least 30% of all my stuff. And now I've actually, when I initially moved to Canada, once again, I had to downsize, but more recently, prior to moving to Korea, I had to really root through all of my crap and decide, what am I keeping, what am I going to get rid of? And it dawned on me just how much money I have spent over the years on fashion, on clothing, and it is ridiculous. Like I was looking at my stuff and I was thinking to myself, you know what, with all of these clothes that I'm now kind of donating to charity, I could have probably bought a house. It went into thousands and thousands of dollars and pounds as well. And I think that this habit, this obsession with compensating for something that I felt that I had lacking for so long became a compulsive habit that I lost control of. And so I understand, I really empathize with, people that need to regain control of their finances and need to figure out the details of how to do it. And so I've come a long way since then. And, I moved out to Korea with literally 2 suitcases. I do have some things stored with friends back in Canada, but I came here with literally 2 suitcases. And, stuff for summer, stuff for winter. And, I've made quite a lot of changes, over the last 10 years in particular. And so I want to talk about, what are some of the secrets, what are some of the ways to save money, if that's really your objective. This video is specifically for people that want to regain control of their finances and want to save money and want to have more control over what they do with their disposable income. Now, my recommendation is, number one, have a reason why. Know why you're saving money. Have a goal. Do you want to buy a house? Do you want to go traveling for a year? That's my particular goal right now. Is I want to save money to be able to travel for a year without working and to be able to financially do that. A lot of people, don't have money squirreled away, in the event that they lose their job. A lot of people live paycheck to paycheck. And it's so incredibly important that you have that power, that you have that flexibility, whereby if you have to walk away from your job, that you do have some money saved up, that you can survive for a few months without a job if need be. But start off with your why. What is it that you need to do? Do you first of all need to save up money so that you can, you have a few months of freedom in the event that you have a financial emergency, you have, for some reason you can't work anymore, or whatever the case may be? You must have at least, $5,000 minimum, saved up so that you have that flexibility to have that money accessible in case you need it. So come up with your why. For me right now, I have saved that, that $5,000 emergency money. Now at this time, as I mentioned earlier, my objective is to essentially have the money to travel for a year, and that is incredibly motivating. So determine what your why is. What is it that you're saving up for? Next, weigh in exactly what your incoming is versus your outgoings. Know what it is that your monthly expenses are. Weigh that, tally that against your salary. Whether you have one source of income or several sources of income. Figure out how much you have coming in. Net income after taxes and pension and all of that. How much exactly do you have coming in? And more or less, how much do you have to set aside for things like bills, your water, your gas, your Wi-Fi, or whatever, your phone. So know exactly what it is that you have going out. Now, what I do is, and also, if you have a big saving plan, like for example, for in my case, I want to travel for a year, and so I've figured out exactly, how much it is that I intend to save as a personal goal over a number of months. When I'm paid my salary by my employer, I actually pay myself in cash. That is that I withdraw a portion of my salary that I know is specifically to last for X amount of time over the period of a month. So this portion for 1 week, this portion for another week, just like that. Dealing with cash for your day-to-day expenses, for example, your grocery shopping and your expenses on the weekend when you're going out with friends and things like that, is that when you deal with cash, you begin to manage it better because it's physical paper, and it begins to represent the hours of toil that you've spent working. And I find that is mentally very, very powerful. It's a very powerful way for you to appreciate the value of how much time you've spent versus your expenditures when you are out and about enjoying yourself on the weekend. Whatever has not been spent, whatever is left over for that week, that can go toward things like mini vacations. If I'm going away to the Philippines for a week, if I want to save up for a Canon camera, if I want to have money set aside to invest in my business, all of that comes out of whatever it is that I haven't spent, that I actually accumulate in physical cash money. And, while some of you might think, oh my goodness, this is crazy, this is such an old-fashioned way of dealing with finances, I find that if I manage it all by credit card and online banking, the numbers just don't seem tangible, they don't seem real. And it's much, much easier to overspend your budget and to end up having more outgoings and splurging on on things that, impulse buys. You see something and you're like, yeah, I definitely want to get that. But, if you only have, $100 cash in your wallet or whatever, and, you expect that to last you, I don't know, the whole weekend or your whole Saturday, you might think twice about whether you really want to do that impulse buy. So, or, you might be, in your mind, you might stop and think and say, hey, do I want to have this impulse buy, or do I maybe want to put that toward my vacation in the Philippines? It's like an emotional mind game that you end up playing on yourself, and it's very, very, very effective. I think that a lot of it really comes down to, and these are the two major secrets to managing and budgeting your money really well, is to, first of all, know how much is coming in and how much you're spending. And second of all, be aware of what your habits are. What is it that you usually have, spend your disposable income on? What are your weaknesses? I know that, in my case, my weaknesses are that I love buying handbags. I love buying shoes. If I go to Italy, I want to buy shoes. So know what it is, what your weaknesses are. And, in my case, I want to save up. I have my goal of traveling the world for a year. That is my principal. That's my principal goal, and I don't intend to interrupt that with random expenditures on crap that I really don't need. Anyway, I hope that considering those variables has made it a little bit clearer and a little bit easier for you to define and look at how other people manage their money and how they do it really successfully. And anyway, thank you so much for watching. And to my friend that asked me this question, thank you so much for putting this question forward. I appreciate it. Hit the bell button to subscribe if you like my content in my channel, and check out my website, travelandtash.com. I recently published some articles on Spain, my travels in Spain, and also I'm just about to publish an article about my travel in Italy. And these are all things that I have been able to do because I manage my income well. I hope that gives you some motivation. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.